you see me in their bathroom or kitchen, I'm going to automatically think it's because I'm black. I just think that whether it is or not, maybe it's the only table, you know. But as Bell Hooks said, unfortunately, this way racism works, as insidious here, is that it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's always true, and sometimes it's not. But we can't call it, and that's what it does to us, and that's why it exhausts us. And it's mentally draining because we never know. We do know we're more than good.
All
And we
right.
know it's going to be twice as good. Now you want
I know, right?
to.
All right. You're live.
Stop it. I'm always excited when I have an opportunity. So thank you to the audience that's here. Get an opportunity to pan to the audience in a few minutes. But I'm really excited because I always love the fact that I get to speak to some phenomenal people. And they often joke like, "Stan, just say comment, I come," and I think, but we joke about it, and I think it's because I really believe in authentic relationships, and I truly admire folks that are doing, a great work. I find that they're great people before any titles or anything. They're great human beings, and I'm always inspired to hear their conversations. But not only that, invite others to hear it. So I believe in creating safe spaces where we can have intentional conversations. And even though it's being broadcast live, I think oftentimes we shy away from having certain particular conversations because just because we name something doesn't mean it's negative. But in order for us to feel, in order for me to feel, sometimes we need to name the things, we need to talk about the things, and realize that we're not alone. Because I think when we're experiencing something, and for me as a black woman, sometimes, yes, we know that our experience as a black woman, we all go through a lot of things, but sometimes we face experiences that are singular to us. And I don't want to be isolated. I want to be able to have these conversations. So I'm always grateful when folks say yes and they're willing to come share their insights, their lived experience. And I try to shake it up to have different individuals. I have Debbie, proud black woman, Yolanda, a proud Latino woman, and Sean, a proud black man. And we're just going to talk, and I think it's helpful. Deb asked me earlier one of the reasons why I started this series, and I think I get a lot of calls, and I think it's because of my disability in the community. I get a lot of calls from folks asking me about their experiences in community, their experiences with toxic friendship, because I've been very vocal that says my non-negotiable is if I were to guess how you feel about me, just don't have a relationship. I don't believe in toxic friendships because it's not a friendship. I don't think the two words should go together. So I really try to give advice, but I also believe that I'm only speaking from my experience. So I bring others on that can share their experience because the experience that I have, you might not have. And the experience that you have, you might not have. So I think it's important that you hear it, that you realize that there are great friendships, there are toxic friendships, and that you could recognize it. And I learned so much when I sit in these spaces and I talk to these amazing individuals. So I'm going to give each of them a minute to introduce themselves. We're going to chat for about an hour or so, then we'll have some questions from the audience, and then we're going to wrap it up. So I'm going to start down there. And so, Ms. Deb, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. You should tell us about you. Does it?
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on the panel with Sean, Hope, respect very much. I'm Debbie Hall, CEO of Vitamin C Central Massachusetts. The first Black CEO in organization's 136-year history at the time. That's important. I say it for a reason, hopefully not the last. Also founder of Mr. Black Business Company. So I'm a lay for story and an art lover. And I enjoy everything Suzanne does. Is that really support her. She's a real voice, authentic voice in our community. So I'm looking forward to the discussion.
I'm Joanna Ramos, and I started season HOA. I'm focused together with the television and love to love marketing and with happy when Suzanne felt these quotes. Sean?
Sean Harris. I am the founder and organizer of the Dinner Club, which is a club for the color. That we once a month whenever we get together. About 45 to 60 of us. In addition to that, I'm one of the founders of the co-facilitators of Kids Raising Kids, which is a parenting for men of color.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming. Give them a round of applause. They're Tonight's panel, we're going to be talking about friendship, intentionality, and leadership because, I talked a little bit about friendship when I introduced the panel. Intentionality, I think, is important. And I think it honestly goes really good with authenticity because, you have to be intentional about your business, right? And then leadership. And I think one of the things Deb says really well, and I don't, I'm not the first person who said it, but I've heard it. It's like oftentimes Black leaders are told are their leaders, and we don't get to choose their leaders. And I was listening to an interview with Malcolm X recently. He was talking about Black leaders, like look who they included, who they invite, as Black leaders. They're telling you because these people are moldable, so they're not naturally your leader. You're just told that they're your leaders. So I think this is a very important conversation for us to have, and I'm really excited. So I'm just going to dive right in, and I'm going to start with you, Sean, because you're next to me. What does friendship mean to you, and how do you think we can cultivate deeper relationships and not just transactional relationships? I'm sorry.
The question you have on my paper that I wrote notes for. This time.
Okay. To mean to you, and how can we cultivate deeper relationships with those we care about, and should we have different levels of friendship?
I'm going to, one, for me, friendship means those people that you know, that you trust and you have in your corner. But those, for me, true friendships are that. Friendships overall for me run the gamut, right? And I'm okay with that when there is 100% levels to friendship. I have some friends who I see once a month. That's all we need to see of each other. We are texting throughout the month. I see you at dinner club. Love you. Keep it moving. And I have some people, probably one person I speak to every single day. And that's because that's my best friend. But in between, there are a lot of them, right? So I have friends who I'm close with, who I text on a regular basis, just checking in. Me and my friend that I'm really, really close with have decided that as men, we weren't brought up taught how to be good friends to each other. We grew up in communities where your friend would be the one who killed you, kind of thing. So we were always skeptical of that. That whole no new friends mentality was really a thing. But as I got older, I realized that you need new friends all of the time, or you don't grow. The people that I've been able to meet and develop friendships with over the past 5 or 6 years have become some of my closest people, and people that I was friends with 20 years ago that I thought would be friends forever have fallen by the wayside. So for me, it is definitely the levels to the friendship, but I'm constantly big on checking in with my people and making sure that people that I'm friends with and call friends with know that I love them. So when we get off the phone, we never hang up without saying I love them. Because we don't know the next time we're going to talk to them, or we never talk to them again. So for my true friends, we have that relationship. But even people that I'm close with, that we're in that middle ground, I just need to know how you're doing. I need to check in with you because we never know. For me, as a man of color, we never know what everybody else is going through. Right? Some of our brothers are struggling every single day, and no one may ever check on them. So I know I need to be the one to do that.
All right, and actually, I'm going to ask you on this because there was this meme going around recently. It was done like on Jamaican men, like to do a practice, like you say, "I love you," and like they got upset and like cuss them out, right? Because it's like, so how did you, as a Black man, get there to hang up the phone saying "I love you"? It's like, bro, I'm checking on you because like someone's like, "Yo, that's weak." So how did you get to that level?
Well, it took a lot of group. It took a lot of growth and a lot of genuine conversations, but I think also for me, it's what we lived through together. Like we buried friends together, we buried siblings, our parents together, all of those things, and realized that by the time I was 21, I had probably lost 4 friends. between murder and suicide, and I never got to tell them how I felt before I lost. You know what I mean? So I made it a point that my people know that I love them. And I think that's contagious, right? Because it can only happen so much on one way before you realize, like, yo, this brother really does love me, and it's genuine. So that was a big piece of it for me. But you talk about that, like us not being able to be vulnerable with each other. For men of color, anger has been the only emotion we've ever been allowed to show. That's been acceptable. You know, that I'm hurt, I'm sad, I'm upset. That's only manifested in anger, and that's how a lot of us ended up in the spaces we ended up in. And I never wanted that for me in my friend. So if we can't be vulnerable with each other, as bad as things are out here for the rest, we're already threatening the rest of the world, we have to be able to be vulnerable with each other. I saw, we were talking about that, I saw this thing where they had dudes calling their friend like, yo, I know your birthday's coming up, we'll buy you a birthday cake. And their friends on the other like, yo, I stack you your birthday. I wish somebody would buy me a birthday cake. Like, call them up, like, no, my birthday this week was my cake. But we've been programmed.
Yeah.
And throughout the years, just to believe that vulnerability among Black men is weak. And the reality is that's the strongest thing we can do as an individual.
All right, thank you so much. That was deep. We're gonna have to have a panel with just men and go a little further.
Oh, I got the people.
I'm gonna jot that down right now.
I got the brothers.
I'm gonna jot that down. All right, so Yomi, I wanted to ask you the same question because I think it's important. We're talking about friendship, and again, we see through different lenses. What does friendship mean to you, and how do you cultivate deeper relationships with those you care about?
Well, I think I will go back to what you asked earlier about whether it's different levels of friendship. And I strongly believe there's different levels of friendship. Not everybody deserves access to your heart. And I say that because to me, friendship is a network of people who you surround yourself with. But again, you can fit into different bubbles, different levels of your life. I am grateful enough to have great friends that I talk to every day, and then I'm grateful enough to have friends that I talk to every year. Hey, how you doing? Checking in, or just like Sean was saying, people that in your life, but they're not tapped into your everyday. And I think it's important to differentiate between that, but doesn't mean you love them less, or that you're not compassionate towards them, or if they call you, you're not there for them. It just means that you have maybe the type of boundaries with those types of relationships. So friendship to me is very important because you need humans. We are humans, we need humans, we need relationships. But I think that one of the things my mom was taught me is a saying in Spanish we use a lot is un amigo es un bolsillo. As a friend is a book in your pocket. You spend it. One moment they're there and one moment they're gone. So when developing relationships, like learning about making friends, ever since I was a little girl, I was always taught to be guarded. But as an adult, I learned to put some of that walls down, let people in differently. Just very careful, very mindful of those true relationships that I develop. And the friendships that I do have become more genuine, more long lasting. And I will say that it has completely altered my feeling about relationships because of what my mom taught me. So it keeps me grounded, I think, in understanding that people experience relationships differently. And just because somebody hurt me, or whether it's just a friend, can judge in a way. I'm not saying I can't hold them accountable for their behavior or the way they treated me, but I also understand that their experiences are so different from mine. And I should have known because un amigo es un bolsillo, So,
All right, awesome. Thank you. I'm learning Spanish today. answer the same question. What does friendship mean to you? How can you cultivate deeper relationships with those you care about? And are there levels to friendship, or should there be levels to friendship?
So, I mean, friendship is, I think, one of the most important relationships. So, that's the, trust is really important. Integrity, authenticity. And that takes time for me personally. I don't know if there's different levels of friends. I know I have best friends. So I always tell people when they say, "Oh, these are my three best friends," I'm like, "No, best means one." So it's like if you got best friend is a really good friend. My best friend knows everything, and those conversations are mostly every morning. And to Sean point, I don't need a new best friend. I don't need to change friends because like any relationship, you work on it, you grow together, right? So those that friend grows with you and do all these things together, grow with you. So mother pad, you the first one to know, and you'll drop everything and be there for them. And so that's my best friend. That's just my best friend. Even if one of us passes away or something happens, that's my best. This is my best. Then there are people I am friendly with, right? And then there are people who have conflicts. There's other people I have, I think, deeper relationships with. And then that's it. That circle is really small. And then I know the rest of us, right? I know other people, and I'm nice, and I'm kind, I think, to people. But to me, it takes a lot. And you gotta nurture. So with friends, I'm like, do you? I don't know you. But for me, it's a small circle. And then I have people I grew up with, I'm not from, and I go back to St. Louis. That level of friendship, it's just called friend. I mean, family. They're like family. Like I go home, you don't lose any. You go home to the neighbor, and they're family. So I think there's that level where, yeah, they're friends, but they're also family. More serious stuff. Um, you do a lot for, since moving here 13 years ago. After the friendship job, there's people and people, you see people and you like seeing them. Um, so you have to allow for them to realize that, like, you allow. Yeah. I think it's that deeper connection, and I think we'll get back to transactional. I think because I think there are relationships that are transactional for me and my role and your role is to say relationships are that's how we take care of business. But developing like real friendship to me takes time. It's not that we just went out a couple times or see you every year. It's a level of being feeling okay and vulnerable and starting to shoot. So nothing like a good friend, and you don't need a whole lot of them.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, thank you. Honestly, some great points. There's so many different places we can go, but I want to move forward to the next question. I'm going to ask you guys, and anyone can take the question. So, when we think about our intersectionality, how does it play a role in shaping our relationships?
So I know Sean, you were talking about men of color and men of color being able to share. I saw the thing on TikTok where you call them and say good night.
Yes.
Sweet dreams.
Yes.
And I think, whether it's nature or nurture, that we believe men should respond a certain way. So I think in those situations they felt like they had to respond a certain way. But there were others who really said, okay, let's talk. Now, intersectionality, when so then you have different groups of friends, right? And how does that work? And we have to talk about issues of trust with people with different sex, people of different races. Could a white woman be my best friend? Right? Part of my definition of friend, like I have to give it trust. Could man be my best friend? I'm saying the same thing. I'm just saying, you think about these levels of both differences, and you feel safe being vulnerable. There's person. And so, queer, like, and I have a straight friend, um, you think about all those things all the time, and for me, it does affect how close I even get initially. I don't know, I don't think about that. And so I think the politics of that maybe even be like how do those relationships, whether it's Puerto Rican, or your best friend is a white, like how does that happen? What do you think about what can they say, what can they not say? And we always used to say like, hey, you hang with us, you can't say the N word because you don't have it like that. Right? So you have to think about those things. On a people love, yeah, you love people. I can sit down and interact. But when you think about it on a deeper level, again, it comes down to trust and vulnerability. So, um, that can call it. Anybody else wants to tackle it or?
Yeah, I think that, for me, like I mentioned before, understanding that every individual is its own person and comes with their own complexity. Being human, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter and granddaughter, and I've taken so many different roles, and my own experiences have really shaped the way I develop relationships. I have to also think that you as my friend, or someone in my friend has their own their own individuality and their own experiences and trauma and joy. So the way we connect really differs with each other, right? So thinking about intersectionality, I think about how we can relate with each other, but also being compassionate and understanding of how different we are. And then I will say, I tend to have really good conversations with people, relationships, don't really fight people. And I think I bring that back to thinking that this person is hurt, this person is feeling a certain way. If I have to step back, I need to step back. I've let them have their feelings and their emotions because I was feeling that, with all my baggage, right? What would I want this relationship to be? So I think it does play a role in the development relationship and how we relate to each other, and how we relate.
Thank you. I mean, I do agree. I think one of the reasons why I put this question on there, I've had like a lot of experience. Like I'm a Black immigrant woman, and those are some of the first things that come to mind. When I think of myself, and there's all these other things, right? And I have a friend who is not any of those things, right? She's a Caucasian woman, and I think sometimes it's hard because when I remember I had a particular experience and I'm like, she was like, oh, what happened? And I was like, I felt like I was discriminated against. And she was like, well, no, I don't think they meant that. And I was just like, okay. So when you say that, it, diminishes my experience because that's what I felt. And I feel personally, I don't share with her as much because like, I feel like I always have to explain. And I think it does play a large role in part for me because it's like if I say to another woman of color, like, listen, I had a corporate walk today and it went amazing. And the only thing they talked about meaning, and I slept on the floor the night before at the store, and they knew that. And the only thing they said was like my earrings were too sparkly, so they were distracted. I was just like, but anybody that knows me knows that I like sparkly. So it's just like when I was saying it to someone, they're like, well, maybe you shouldn't have worn a sparkly earring. So I think, so it's hard for me to trust somebody who doesn't look like me or get me that, I express myself in colors and sparkles and light. So yeah, it's as we've gotten into our friendship, I just don't share. So our friendship, Lord, I discovered this right here. Can't go any further because I don't feel like I'm in a safe space to express the pieces that make me who I am. So I think that's why when I think about intersectionality, I do think about, yeah, I think for me personally, it plays a huge role in shaping my friendships.
Anybody who says it doesn't really tell the truth. And thank you for sharing your story, but that's sadly, and you can choose to say I don't work it out.
Yeah.
But I think it comes down to trust. And you said it to me, I was like, yeah, girl, I know. There's a knowing that we have that's automatically reality, wherever you come from, there's a knowing that we all have. And it's the thing that out there for the most part. That leave yourself open to. It doesn't mean those friendships don't work against friends, you know, there's different levels of friendships, but something else. You know, this is you choosing not to be alone. And then that's not what you
So for friendships.
I can add.
Yeah, I love to hear.
Sexuality piece for me. I definitely compartmentalize relationships. And so like sometimes I just want to be with your brother. Sometimes I just want to be with other father. You know what I mean? Like those conversations are different. And that's okay. You know what I mean? Like there are groups that I have in my life that probably will never meet and intermingle with each other because this relationship doesn't belong with me. And so, you know, that works for me. But also, I think for me, I can talk about that in terms of, because that's how I learn from like people. Like if I'm in a group of tall men of color ages 35, 65. There are some people who are coming behind me that I'm learning about the younger world from, and some people ahead of me that I'm learning about what it's going to be like if I get to 65. And I need those lessons. I think we all need those lessons. And so sometimes I just want that. I don't want all the others. I just want that part of my life. So I compartmentalize and just put myself in those spaces.
Thank you. All right, next question, you know, anyone can take it. In times of change, how do we maintain the love and respect that keeps friendships alive and thriving? So I think let's think about today's political climate. You know, and there's ever shifting changes that are happening. How do we ensure that our friendships are alive and thriving with everything that's going on? And there's folks on different sides of the political spectrum.
No.
If we were friends before, we're not friends now.
I have friends who are on the opposite side, so I don't know about that in terms of just being there. People being there for you. I mean, I think it's hard when we talk about something small about this earlier. The world seems really happy. The country seems happy. And it's harder to get my best. I mean, it's like some days, like I gotta check in twice and say, hey, what time are you waking up and what's going on? So I find that I need to be more intentional in that respect and just touch base with people or be as responsive as I can to people. But that's where I am. And again, Sean mentioned earlier, I think it's so important to tell people how to feel about it. When you see them, usually where I hurt people because that's what I give you, right? But yeah, I really can't say I have any friends that are on the opposite side of it. Yeah, because like any relationship, the foundation, we have to agree on morals and values. Now, we can have different opinions about a movie or something, but if we don't have a good foundation, you're in trouble. So, all of my friends go human rights, equity, and human rights, animal rights, and different things that I've been caring for the community. So, I really, I'll pass it.
Now, if you build on that, because there's a key word that you said that everything's just so heavy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
heavy. And if I can't count on you to help me lift my burden and be there
Yeah.
for you. How friends are we truly? You know, I talked about my best friend lives in Pittsburgh, and the past couple of years for two of us have been growing years, right? We've lived through just tragedy after tragedy, loss of marriage, loss of family, and that kind of stuff. So that bonding from 700 miles away makes it really, really tough. And so it is, and so those moments that, and we have, you know, just if I call and I just have to say one thing, and he's like, what happened? And he'll just let me go, and then he'll be like, I love you, bro, I'll talk to you later. And that's all we need. But it just feels so heavy. And I have, you know, other relationships that I value that are kind of super important to me and stuff like that. But it's about that driving of how do we get through this together? Because when it comes to all of it, the only way we make it through everything that's going on right now is together. Right? And if you don't have that support to help you get through it, we're out here swimming alone.
All right.
I think that this is my question. So I think sometimes friendships can become very difficult because we expect people to remain a version of themselves that we met. But we're involved and they're involved. And I think we grow. Sometimes it could be like the branches from the tree, you know, they grow their own way, you know. And you can, you know, honor them as your friend and, you know, say thank you for the experiences and the love that we shared during the years that we know each other. So I think if the time has come where that friendship doesn't serve you for them, and those values are no longer there, I think it's okay to push them home. You know, it doesn't mean that you're not going to love them or compassionate towards them or ignore them walking on the street. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you're honoring the relationship you have together.
You're so sweet.
She's so kind.
Like you are incredible.
You forgot to do what that looks like. Oh, what?
Things won't we can disagree politically, but as long as this disagreement is not rooted in. So, you know, that's where I stand. I think that you mentioned it, you know, it's heavy. And I think the past couple of years have gotten so heavy. I think before it's like, oh, you know, I don't want to get into a political debate here. Like, oh, it's okay. Like, we don't agree. But I think we've just got to the point where, for me, for a lot of folks that look like me, it's interesting to be outside. And I really, really would find it hard to be friends with someone who supports someone who doesn't believe that my life has value. And I think that's a line that I'm not going to cross. So, right. But you know, she will teach kids.
Well, you know, we talked about earlier, and I think it's important for me to say that I feel that eating takes so much effort.
Oh, but I don't hate it.
I don't hate it.
I just
go.
do you know the Facebook thing says like if you block somebody on Facebook or you block does it block like?
You know,
Just all right, so we're gonna move on to the next question. All right, so you know, right before the cameras went live, Sean was talking about this. So you know, you live in a transactional culture, right? How do we forge true relationships and friendships, knowing that we do live in this transactional culture? And I think your answers that you talked about a little bit and touched on a little bit, but you know, I think I've had this question asked of me, you know, it's just like, because there's a lot of networking events. And I mean, I will leave networking events with 2025 business cards, and you remember 2 people. You do not remember all 25. So, but there are some people that you spot in the crowd, and you're like, I think that energy. So how do we, especially so like Deb, you were the CEO of the YWCA, And folks are gonna want to have relationships with you, because you're the CEO of the YWCA, because they're seeing that transactional relationship. But there might be somebody there who genuinely wants to be friends with you because they dig you. So how do you form true relationships in this transactional culture and not become cynical?
Yeah, I think we figured out, again, there's nothing wrong with transactional relationships, it's how we operate, it's how we do business. It's okay, it puts things in a place for you. So it's all right, those things are not bad, they're inherent. I think when you meet people, you kind of know. And so then it's a follow. There's usually for me, if each one talk, to me or meet with me, I say I always understand the assignment. I'm always going to meet with you. I'm going to meet with anybody. And we'll talk about the agreements and sides, whatever the case is. And I always end up saying, what can I do? Because I understand this is probably, and I'll say it to them. I understand that this is my job. What can I do? Then I put it in, like it is what, whether you are asking me to mentor you, again, this is what I can do. Or maybe somebody else that I can do this. And there's a specific thing I can do for you. It's fine. I think other people that I have been formed friendships with, they don't necessarily start off as transactions. Tage and I are friends, so I know she came to me, that was transactional. And Tage's in the audience, and she wouldn't listen to a thing I said, to me. But I would consider, Tasia, she called me up and she needs something else out there. I'll do it. Diane saying, you meet certain people in certain spaces, and I don't think you know until somebody makes another call, and you're like, let's love. And then you start seeing the person, and you come to know them, and you check in on those things. But yeah, I'm okay with it, especially my role with transaction. It limits how much energy I have. Like I have, we could be say I want to be friends with everybody, I just don't have the energy to do that. Not my level of friendship. So because it requires me to do a little bit more to nurture the relationship. So I don't think I necessarily most transactional relationships for me are turned into friendships. Like they're just relationships. And it can be respectful and I can see you and I can look, but that's what it is. And a lot of it, and I think all of us are roles where that's what people are coming to you for, and that's okay. That's okay. That's exactly what we should be doing. So I can't say I've developed a lot of friendships out of the initial transactional relationships with people like me outside of work. Then they don't know how to do, but it wasn't necessarily.
Anyone else? All right, she did. Thank you. Great answer. So this is going to be a fun question. How do you recover or move on from a relationship when the trust is broken?
It's funny because when I got this question, I was like, oh wow. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been blessed with a very sharp personal. I can cut you off, have no issue cutting with a blink and never regret and never feel because I've lost so much throughout life that I never had a chance to move on from. I've lost so much without choice that I've consciously learned when it is my choice, it's very easy. Especially if it's something that I feel is harming me or anyone I love or care about. So I have friends who were there when I got shot, friends who were there when my kids were born, all of that who I thought would be my very close friends to this day. That did some stuff that I was like, oh, that's what you're on now? That if I'm having breakfast tomorrow and find out that they died, my eggs don't stop. Like it's that real. Like when I cut you off, and that's not just friends, that's family, it is what it is. I'm done with you, I'm done with you. And I've been blessed with that sharp knife, and I have a nice sharpener to make sure it's
Okay.
Wow. I am a total opposite.
Go on. That might be you're all brought up from a different experience.
Yes.
So go on.
Again, I think always be very careful of how I bring people into my life. That's I never have the need to use that money because I never let people get to that point where they're not honest or that publicity. So again, very strong boundaries with relationship, which allows me to kind of say, keep people out of this, at a healthy distance. My husband says the same thing you say, like you're tonight, I'm going to talk to them, I'm going to do this, I'm going to. But I will say that somebody who hurt my feelings, hit me up, I'll pick up the call. I absolutely will not anymore. If I see them out there, I'm like, hey, I don't lose sleep for it. But either way, for me, I just think that, again, people have different experience. I don't know who hurt that person before in their life. It's just, I'm not going to be the one to hurt them back. That's how I feel. I think it goes back to being so I'm a therapist, I train, and I always understand that people go through a lot. In their personality, who they are, what they experience, shaping themselves now. And if they're hurting, they have to hurt someone. They're gonna hurt people. So hurt people. And I just feel that I'm not gonna contribute to that hurt. So if I can show them that little bit of kindness, maybe it can shift a little bit themselves. Maybe,
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is I'm not gonna, not gonna contribute to giving them a reason.
Thank you for sharing. You're so kind.
You're so kind. You're so kind. I'm gonna, the next question. You are lovely. But I
aspire to be that.
I
I aspire to be that way in some aspect of my life.
I think, and I hear hurting people, helping people. So I want to get that here.
No.
I think that there is a fine line, right? Because what Sean has, what a lot of us have, is a trauma response. So we've had to deal with these things past, so self-cut you, give a band-aid, you forget about it. But it still harms us. And so and I think we like resolution to things as human beings. Sometimes it's hard. Exactly understanding your experiences and pain. But I can't put that on me, right? So we have to take responsibility for certain things and see people. There's a pattern that's happening, that something that is happening. But it's most of the things, it's a trauma response. It's how we've grown up, it's those experiences, and that's okay, and it's okay.
Well, thank you guys. All three of you. Great feedback. I'm going to move to the next question because I think this question goes directly after that. So, this one was how do you move on, right? But how do you heal from toxic relationships? Because letting go and moving on is not healing. So, how do you heal from toxic relationships? How do we get to heal stuff that we forget?
Well, for me, it is about therapy.
Okay.
To some extent,
So you support therapy?
Oh, absolutely. I think everyone should be in some form of therapy, but I know specifically the people that I am around most, which is men of color, should all. Because there's something inherently in us, in our DNA from years of trauma, oppression, systematic oppression, and racism that lives in us that only manifests itself in harmful ways very often. And we don't know and understand that until we've been in therapy. I know it's a different question, but I failed in therapy a lot because I wasn't honest about what I needed to get out of it. So I wasn't honest with my therapist until I started to become honest. Because I was always afraid that she would tell me I was the problem and then I'd have to change. But the reality is, in a lot of it, I was the problem. It needed to change. But even to this day, like, October 2nd, in that speech, I talk about my therapist a bit. And that because of what I've gone through in the past 2 years. But part of that healing for me is finding that healthy health, right? That, like, I give it a toxicity by replacing it with health. So what do I create as a healthy outlet to get the toxic out of my life? So that it's different for everyone, but for me, it has to be, and just not even just friendships, but in any relationships. If it's toxic and it hurt, I need to replace that with something healthy that allows me to grow and nourish myself.
I like what you say, quickly, because I do think that when we, used to toxic relationships, abusive, emotionally abusive relationships, people who hurt us, we can't move past that. And then when we discover someone who's not that, who's such a total opposite, when I feel hurt, I just look at the people around me who are constantly there to reassure me that, my daughter, you're the best mom ever. How can I stay here? How can I not feel enough? Right? So I think just reminding ourselves and replacing that negative thinking with just the beautiful things we have in our life, the positive people that we encounter every day.
Thank you, guys. So I'm gonna move on from the friendship section. I know there's an additional question, but I feel like based on a couple of questions that we've answered, we've certainly hit on that, quite a bit. And I just wanted to talk about leadership because we're gonna come up pretty soon, finish the panel and give the audience an opportunity to ask questions. So you guys have all been leaders or currently leaders in certain capacities. So we're gonna shift our little mind a bit and pop over to leadership. And I'm going to ask the first question is, in your mind, what does it mean to lead with purpose? And how can we inspire others to find their own leadership style? There's many different types of leaders. We've had great leaders. Hopefully, we've had bad leaders. We are leaders. But what does it mean to you to lead with purpose? Anyway.
The reason I struggle, don't do that. The reason I struggle, believe it or not, the reason I struggle with these questions, and an organization that have these conversations all the time about what leadership looks like, is I don't consider myself a community leader. And sometimes I cringe when I hear people who out loud, like, oh, why wasn't I invited? I'm a community leader. Who told you, right? Because I may be in a room. So you get a point of time, right?
That's my Gemini on my phone listening to us apparently.
So we may be having a conversation, and there may be a pocket of people that I spend time with, that I move with, that consider me a leader in my role, right? And you say, oh, and then I take that on. And then you go talk to 10 other Black people, and they go, who the hell is Sean Harris? I don't know him. He don't lead me. He's not here, right? But that devalue all of the others, right? Because Worcester has this thing, we talked about this last week. Worcester is they've always allowed City Hall and whoever never looked like us to decide what Black leadership looked like in our community. And as I came up and I was one of the youngest people in a lot of my roles, people say, oh, you're a leader in the community, you're a leader in all this. But I would run into people who absolutely had no clue who I was, what I did, what I was about. They're like, well, am I really leading people if half of these people don't know who I am? Not in a bad way, but in a lot of places, that works for me, right? Because I don't always want to be up. So when I don't always want to be up. People, like, I like being behind the scenes. I like not being involved. I like not being the one that people have to call. I don't want to always lead. They say lead, follow, get out the way. I'm more than happy to get out the way and let y'all handle it. Oftentimes it falls on me because no one else is going to do it. Or someone who I trust and love will ask me to step into that role. And very rarely will I say no to people that I trust and value unless it's at the expense of my health, which has been a lot lately. So,
That's why.
those are complete sentences at this point. But so I struggle with that leadership because somebody can always say, you're not leading me. Like, who do you think you are to say that you're a leader? So it really is a struggle. It's a super complex issue.
I can respect that.
I think most leaders, whatever, it's not something you call yourself, it's something your community says you are. I think I was an interview I did with somebody a long time ago. And he said, so you're an activist, are you calling yourself? I said, the community calls me that. I can't just name that. So I think with truth leaders, really, they don't go around calling themselves leaders. They don't go around saying, why am I not on the wall? You don't question those things because for me, your community, and think about Black Excellence last year when Megan and I received, I think they both of us. You do it because, again, you have to convince them that the community says. Now, everybody's not always going to agree on everything anyway, so I don't need 100 people to tell them. Right? If you have a community telling you that, that's why it's so important, Sean, it's like me, why me kind of thing. I think most truth leaders will say that because you're just doing what you're supposed to be doing. And then somebody calls it leading. I don't believe in Black leadership because I'm in Black. So that was for instance. I don't believe in bad leadership because bad is not leadership, right? So we don't need to say that. I think when it comes to humbleness, I think at the forefront for me is always compassion, it's always care for community. It is putting others before yourself in so many, but are thinking about the whole instead of yourself. So, who is your business journal? Quite frankly, says it's a powerful country or whatever. It doesn't really matter. That's all made up too. And I said earlier, I tell people awards can't be important to me because in fifth grade, I was the smartest student in class, right? But I went to an all-white Christian school, and I would go to those assemblies, and after we prayed, white students would get awards, and I would get it. And Debbie was a really good student. So I knew then that the odds were stacked against me for so many reasons, and I knew it wasn't real. And so even when I see it's all nice, I don't get excited about being in a powerful because what does that really mean? It doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. It just means some people will say mostly what you see is popularity versus being powerful, influential, or being a leader. And I even tell people I know who are, I mean, I'll give you a clap because that's what you want. But we know how these things work when you come to politics, and that's why it's so important for us to name our own leaders. That's why it's so important for Black excellence to exist because the community tells me I'm doing a good job. The October 2nd, the community. And that is the reason for me that I accepted at the end of the day. I say this tomorrow morning too. But when you ask me what it means, that's the reason I accept and I tell you to accept because it's the community that is saying you've done good by us, right? And that's the only award outside of something. And my mother and father would say you're doing what we taught you to do. That matters. So the leadership. I don't know leaders who go around calling themselves. It's not true leaders. I don't. Yeah, I understand my role, but you got to tell me I'm doing all right. And I always say that to people, and you all have to tell them I'm doing all right. And then I know I'm doing something. So I think that term and the title is thrown around so much to become trite and means absolutely nothing anymore. Because at the same time, I tell people we're all leaders in some respect in certain circumstances. But it's for me always having the heart. It's always bigger than this problem. So how many people don't even want to walk into this right there and think if I'm not doing right by the meeting. So Sean, you are deserving. I know you still have you're struggling with that, but then I'm gonna say to you, I believe like you are a true leader, and that's why you're being honored, and then if you tell me no, then that's a slap in my face. So you have to take that on and embrace it and good, especially when it comes to your community, right? So we'll see you October 2nd. Question.
Compliment deflections.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a thing, but I didn't Google it.
No, I told you that.
Yeah. No, I mean, you are absolutely deserving of that
Let's
honor.
move on from me.
We're not. Chair, we're really loud out, so you absolutely deserve that honor. I am looking forward to October 2nd when we honor Black excellence at the AC Marriott. So we have three amazing, incredible leaders that we're going to honor: Sean, Dr. Krista, and William. And yeah, y'all gotta buy your tickets and come. Turn out tonight. It's gonna be a good old time. All right, so I'm gonna, because we're running out of time and this conversation could certainly continue, but I know it's past some people's bedtime. We're gonna, I wanted to at least get in, one question about intentionality. Let me look which one is the best one. Okay, perfect. How does setting clear intentions empower us to embrace our goals and overcome obstacles with confidence?
You don't say nothing to me.
So I think that we have to always think of our why, right? Our purpose, our why do we make the choices that we make? Why do we make the decisions? Why do we do the things we do? For me personally, I struggle with that. So I look for a lot of people who can teach me on how to remember why. I'm a butterfly queen. I get distracted really easily, and I constantly struggle to focus on just one why. I feel there's so much that I could do. I have so much potential, and I have so much risk that I sometimes struggle to describe. So to point one thing and say, that's it, I'm here for this. And, so I always struggle with that question because I can sincerely say that I'm just so much that
And you are enough. And you are enough. And that's it. So no, thank you. Well, the very final question I'm gonna ask you guys before we put it onto the audience, I'm gonna have all three of you guys answer it. So who did I start with? Sean. So I'll start with Deb then. All right. How do we grow in stagnant places?
Identify the stagnant places first of all. And I say anytime I get stuck, I share this with people. If I keep making the same mistake, or I keep doing another mistake, or I keep having the same experiences, nothing changes. Like, what am I supposed to learn? I have any lessons I'm supposed to learn from this. Once you learn a lesson, you're able to move through it, right? Get through it. And so I think anytime you find yourself stuck, you got to think about, what is this teaching me, and what do I need to learn, and why am I challenged by this? And once you answer that, sort of like your purpose, someone John Lewis, if your passion will lead you to your purpose, and that'll be more clearly defined. Not that we can do many things, but we all can do many things, but your passion will lead you to your purpose. And once you know your purpose, you can stop. You're going to pursue that. It should. So for me, stagnation is just a moment to reflect on what it is, what lesson I have to learn from this place on. And it can last longer periods of time, or shorter periods of time. But I tell people you can't get over it until they get through it, right? So that's how I get it.
Thank you so much. That is powerful. I agree. Yolanda.
How do you grow spaces that are set?
I think that I like what you said about the nice. And accepted. Um, I think that you need to learn to also sit still. You know, I like it. And sit still in the comfort, which is hard. And sometimes we're wanting to just go in our environment still, or things aren't happening. It's quick as you want, or as fast as you want, and in the way you want. I think that it's time to let it be and sit there and comfortable in that moment. And I really like that you said, kind of like, I finding that purpose, but also guiding yourself for that stillness of yourself. I don't know if I'm going to say any of that, but when you have a moment to really reflect and truly, and maybe that's why I have to that person, you know, because I am that person that doesn't enjoy in that. And it is, and it is, so maybe in that moment, it will take years, maybe it will take many, you know, more of these talks for that. But not good on that. Yeah. I can feel more comfortable with stillness and be able to accept that purpose. So
All right. Thank you. Beautiful.
So for me, how do you grow places that are stagnant? I leave. If I'm in a job and I feel like I'm no longer growing or learning anything, I leave. I've become the master of reinventing myself. I started this work when I was young. It no longer served me and burnt me out. I left and went back to school. Became an interior architect, designed buildings all over the country for years. Became a professor, and I left that and became a soccer coach. And all of those things fulfilled until they did it. And then when they didn't, I left. And well, soccer dad part my son's like that, go back to work. You've been there a little too long. But again, I'm big on growth, who I am as an individual, because life is way too fleeting to just do one thing to be miserable at. So I'm big on reinventing myself. You know, the things that I'm able to do now, at 50, because of not only my work, but because of the friend group I have around me, because of the hobbies and habits I'm picking up later in life, are helping me grow so I don't feel stagnant. But if I decide tomorrow this doesn't serve me and I feel stagnant, y'all might not see me again for another 5. That's just how it has to be for me. Because for me, at the end of the day, if I'm not fulfilled and feel comfortable who I am as an individual, the rest of it doesn't matter. And so that's what it has to be for me. I have to be intentionally in love with myself 100% in everything I'm doing, or I don't feel I am what I need to be. It's long with
People off and then you
real talk. Over makes 5 years I've been at Quincy. This is the longest I've ever stayed at one.
Okay.
No.
love
Like, yeah, all right. Thank you all so much. So we are now for the audience questions. So if you have a question, please come on up. I have a mic. So the blue light only turns on if you move. So I love you guys for sitting still. So, okay. You guys. Yes. No, but I want it to be picked up on TV. All right.
All right, so first of all, this is an incredibly amazing discussion. So my question will leverage on 3 areas. So I know there's learning, but there's also unlearning. And then around being self-aware and personal responsibility to sustain relationships or even to know when to leave or when to stay or when to move or so when it comes to personal responsibility, what are those tools and what is like a precedent to have is it self-awareness first, like I really, really know myself, so I know what I need, or at times does the need also inform you of how to position yourself? For example, when it comes to healing, you might need like a self-discovery class or taking up some mindfulness so that it gets you to that place of understanding you and knowing you. So I guess my question is, out of like a personal self-awareness, what do you think comes before the other, or how can they interchangeably um, come like, the word I'm looking for is how can they process? How can they both process to get you to a level where you're so self-aware that you will be in friendships, relationships that are truly and authentically serving.
A very clinical question.
I think
Absolutely.
I think it's important to know yourself and know where your boundaries are when it comes to relationships. So you said from the very beginning, it's important to be self-aware. Absolutely. Understand what the boundaries is, what's too much, not enough. You can't pour somebody who's not pouring back, right? You can't you know, talking about, and this is me, right? Yolanda, who's like trying to but like, I can't give you more than what you're giving me. In the level of understanding that there's certain boundaries that I have to put in place for my own well-being. And I think to do that, you need to know what those boundaries are, and it's reflecting on yourself, reflecting on what you assess as a person. Your friend doesn't have to be exactly like you. But your friends to share those values and what's the line, right? Where's the line? And in order to do that, you need to know yourself.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. I know everybody. Thank you, sir. Thank you, kind sir.
Question. And a quick session. I just want to find out what is healing for you, because voice can be dangerous. So what is it for you? How has it shaped you going forward?
So for me, I feel resolved or healed to some point when the stimulus of what it was that hurt me no longer gets a reaction. You know what I mean? When I see that person that I know was harmful for me and I no longer want to punch him in his face, I know I've moved past it. I gotta be real. But so we're talking about friendships, relationships, all of those things. And so obviously it's different, right? So healing from a relationship, whether it a loving relationship, it is tough, but it's working through the change of getting rid of what hurt you and replacing it with something that's repairing you. But when you're back in that space of what hurt you, and you can move past that and not feel like either you need to circle back or you need to victimize on the other end of it, I think that's when you're healed.
Right, thank you. Thank you. Wow.
And I'm not a healed individual. I just want to put the table right now. I'm definitely need. It's just maintenance, but I'm not there.
All right. All right, Sylvia, I heard you had a good question. So, Carla, yes, the final question from Janet.
So, I guess when someone is causing harm in the community and others see it, why do they do they continue to support said person?
Good question. It's a good question. I think when mm, uh, you act from love or fear. And so I think it's good. Those are two emotions we act from love or fear. And so you fear maybe repercussions of you speaking out. And it's everything you do, right? And so when you fear that, and a lot of it is based on perceiving influence and power in communities. And that will never change until people speak out. That's the thing, you can't get around speaking out. So you see something, as we say in domestic violence advice, you see something, do something, help, right? You gotta say something. And these harmful folks in communities will continue to do harm until the community says, we're not gonna allow them to do harm. So we have to hold people accountable. That's the only way. That's really the only way. And to Sean's, I don't know if this is about women live or not, but I think, I always say, people talk behind your back. They talk behind my back, but they're behind you for reasons, first of all. I get a lot of comments from a lot of people about things people don't like that I do or what's happening in life at PCA. And I said to one woman that I'm only to change so much. Have them call me. And she said, you know they're not gonna call you. So the conversation then is over. Because I'm here, you all know where I am once they show me something. I'm not violent all the time, but I am saying that you can't, if you're gonna say it, say it. There are places and times when the ANC told me it was all right. But I'm saying I don't do harm. Like I tell people, I may not like, but I don't do harm to you. And then we have people who do harm. It's really harmful to all of us in the community. You can't move forward. It's just not, it's not okay. It's not okay for us. Our silence makes us complicit in that behavior. It's really simple. It's really simple. But you'd be amazed at what happens to those when people speak out against them. You lose any sense of power that you may have. But I think it's a lot, whether it's our elected officials, it's a perceived power. You only have power because people give it to you. And so if people take that away from you, you only talk to everybody thinks you're powerful. Stay in PNP because somebody starts a rumor and it's really easy. We're really simple creatures. It's not. So you have to speak out. You have to be hold people accountable and don't forget. Don't forget. And you see that unfortunately when we talk about leadership, that's what I'm saying, especially people who have done, people want to preserve legacy to become important as you grow older, you're thinking about those things. But as I said, it really tarnishes your legacy. When you get to the point you have to talk about someone else, or you get to the point where you're gatekeeping, you get to the point where you don't want to share power. That's all. Power can be good. There's nothing wrong inherently with power. We should share power. And eventually, like I said, people just have to speak up and out. And I think a lot of people do that, but they're not people that folks consider leaders in the community. So unless you have, and then some people just say silent because it doesn't matter. I don't answer every, go to every fight, I'm invited to. You just can't. It's a waste of your energy. But we must, like we speak out about the police, you call the mayor, you call the city manager. We have to do that in our own communities to hold people accountable. It's not okay. Yeah.
People don't get checked in public. Come on. We talked about this before, and it's a bit of a different conversation, but also the same. The reason everybody's tough is because the internet allows you to be tough, right? Or the back conversations allow you to be tough. People don't get checked in public until we start to do it. I feel bad because people are like, no, this is crazy violent, but people feel they can do and say what they want because there's no risk of getting punched in the face,
Yeah.
right? Because that changes your attitude and your approach.
My name is Debbie.
But same approach in terms of a bully who is willing to be out in the community and say, yeah. Well, to enough people say, no. Back at them, it won't stop. Because we talk about that. You may say a lot about me, but you don't have the guts to say it too. Right? And if you're having those conversations, cool. I have a problem. That's cool. Feel free to do that. Right? But I don't sweat it or worry about it because I know you don't have what it takes to say it to me. Because then we have a different conversation. Right? And now, all of the other people that I know that you've done this to, we've had discussions about this, now what they've given me is also in my ear when we have a conversation. Right? And so now, even if you're not in the room when I'm having this conversation, you're in the room when I'm having this conversation. I say this about my friends in a positive light. If you're a friend of mine, whatever space I'm in, you're in with me. Same thing when it comes to that. If you harm my friend and I see you, my friend's trauma is in that room with me when I see you. So those conversations, they happen the same way. But again, it's that people can be bullies when you allow them to victimize you. And so people start, and I'll tell you right now, we have a bunch of those around. And a bunch of people are sick of it, but they're having the conversations individually and not saying, yo, how come we don't collectively say, you're done? Right?
And that's what community used to. That's, when we talk about different ways of policing or getting rid of the police, we talk about communities holding abusers responsible. Like we've talked about some of us, different models, not incarceration, but communities holding those folks accountable. You can do it. You also condone it when you continue to interact with them, nothing happen. I said I won't harm you, but don't talk to me. Like we're not going to have conversations. I'm not going to support that type of behavior. It's never about. I say to people when I'm not interacting with people, or you ask me about somebody and I stay silent, there's a reason. It takes not a whole lot of me to get there, but it is about trust. It's about respect. We can disagree. It's fine. But if I don't interact, there's a reason I'm not interacting. I'm collaborating with people, and that's because they're doing not talking about me. That's one thing, but doing harm to our communities. So call it out. Don't just keep going like you got it. And the thing we say, yeah, we black people, and I like black people. I'm like, oh, but I like black people, right? But I'm still not gonna put up with that. I'm gonna come to something because that's the thing I'm supposed to do, and we're not supposed to air our dirty laundry. You have to call people out on things, especially when you're abusive to other people and they're doing harm. So that don't only just ignore, you gotta call them out.
And I swear I'm not.
You wouldn't have anybody.
Turn the other cheek. You know what I mean? If you harm me or mine, and that includes community, that includes the things I love, the people that I love, it's a different conversation. But that's how we have to do. Like we've allowed people to stomp on our community too much with impunity and not be held accountable for anything, and then go, oh my God, why did this happen to us? Because we're allowing it to happen.
Thank you.
Great question.
It is a great question, and I think, I think almost everyone here has had brushes with individuals who cause harm that are toxic, and you guys spoke eloquently to it. And the only piece I'll add is, a reckoning must happen. And I think in order for a reckoning, people have to speak up, right? But until that comes, I think our individual responsibility, if we are in spaces where folks are causing harm or speaking about others, call it out immediately. Call it out immediately. Hold them accountable, whether they're your friend or not. If you're in a space sitting with someone and they're speaking poorly about someone, whether you know it to be true or not, do not stay silent. I think it's like if you see racism, right? If you see homophobia, if you see like all of these things that people are doing, like speak up, because then they're going to believe that you're a friend, and it's dangerous to be
different to the racist, misogynistic, homophobic person because they think that you're in the same boat. So speak up. If I'm in the room with you and you're talking about somebody, I'm gonna let you know that's not okay. Because I don't feed on the pain of others.
So you can also go, oh, no, Carlos right there, go say it to him.
I know.
That changes people's approach. You whispering about this and that. Oh, that you did.
No, so we've gotta like just be transparent and just have conversation and be willing to be uncomfortable. Sit in your uncomfortableness and says, yeah, no, I'm not okay with speaking about Debbie like that. Like, go call Debbie a child. That's what you think of her.
And my mama said, when I didn't want my mama to
Yeah, you know.
is that you tell me who you hang out with, and I can tell you who you are. Right?
Birds of a feather flock together.
So wherever you're trying to go, and trust me, if you're talking about somebody else, they're talking about you too, which is why I can't entertain it. You become part of mean girl groups, and that's why I call them like mean girl groups, like people who actively they do harm because they actively undermine you and anything you can be doing what you're doing with it. And we just need to break free of that. Again, we don't all like each other. It's fine. This is how we are as human beings. I may like you more, and I don't. Hey, I can't get the energy to solve it. I mean, you're bad either. But we don't need to go out of our way to
Absolutely. Be kind. Be kind.
yeah.
Leave them alone. Like, just be kind.
Quiet.
So,
Again,
thank you. No, I mean, you guys, Deb, Yolanda, Sean, thank you guys so much. I don't take it lightly when I invite people into a space and they come because I do know that sometimes we're having these conversations and we forget the camera's rolling. And it is live and others are hearing, but I also want to make sure that it's a space that you guys feel safe enough to express your thoughts and be your full authentic self. And I know that you guys follow through, but I also think that it's important that others that are watching and listening and hearing, because they're learning. You know, because they're going through those experiences. They are going through toxic friendship and toxic leadership situation, or they're in situations where harm is being caused. So, you know, I think I value the insights that you guys share. They've been powerful, inspiring, and I always learn so much when I'm sitting in spaces with you guys. So I don't take it lightly when you guys say yes. I appreciate you guys. You guys do so much. So when you guys say yes, I do appreciate you. So thank you all so much. Thank you. I think second. Start with you, Sean.
Love more than when I love you, but when I love you deeply.
Yes.
I go to war with my people.
Yes. All right.
He's special, it's very reflective, and definitely taken in a lot of good things and fun. No,
thank you for having me. And it's wonderful to hear from Yolanda and Sean because I was learning from the audience too.
Yes.
Really good questions. So I'm so thankful and grateful that you were able to come right and say it. It's such a fabulous show. We really appreciate you and all the attention you bring to some very important issues. So
Thank you. Thank you guys, the audience, thank you guys so much. I don't believe, as my pastor used to say, you could be anywhere else, but you chose to be here with us. So I'm grateful and appreciative, and I really hope, I know y'all need something about it. So thank you, and you know, may always be spaces where you feel safe enough to be your authentic self. All right, and then to the audience at home watching, thank you. And I do have to shout out my husband, my partner. He is the magic behind Positive Suzanne. So I appreciate it all, and just someone who allows me to be who I need to be, always 100% all the time. So thank you all. Thank you all. And yes, have a good night. Thank you guys.
Well, my job, because I know
I know. Do you want to what?
no,
Oh, well,
Yes, I